Did you know that there are 4.5 million refugees in the U.S.? Well, neither did I until I looked it up the other day. The United States should not be allowing Syrian refugees into this country because they're believed to be involved with the Paris attacks. The United States should not be allowing Syrian refugees in the country because they could be in ISIS. The United States should not be letting in Syrian refugees into the country because then we'd have to make more space in the United States for them. The United States should not be letting in Syrian refugees because they're involved in the Paris attack. At least 132 people were killed in the attack and a lot more were injured. Ben Carson compared the refugees fleeing Syria to rabid dogs and said that allowing them into the United States would put all Americans at risk. During the Paris attack, there were 3 suicide bombers. That's 3 too many in my opinion. The United States should not be letting in Syrian refugees because some refugees could be in ISIS. More than half the nation's governors that are actually Republicans actually oppose letting Syrians into the country. The Obama administration imported about 1,600 refugees in the past fiscal year. That means that around 200 refugee ISIS supporters and a total of 500 Syrian refugee ISIS sympathizers are already in the country. The Council on American Islamic Relations states that defeating ISIS involves projecting ideals and instead project our fears to the world. The United States should not be letting in Syrian refugees into the country because then we'd have to make more space in the U.S. The Republican Party voted to make it more difficult for refugees to get into the States. More than half of the United States governors said they will no longer provide placement for the refugees. 54% of Americans would not allow refugees into the United States. Showing fear of the refugees is the kind of response ISIS is seeking, said Ian Levine. To conclude, I do not think Syrian refugees should be allowed in the United States. The United States should not be letting in Syrian refugees because they're involved in the Paris attacks. The United States should not be letting in Syrian refugees because they could be in ISIS. The United States should not be allowing in Syrian refugees because then we'd have to make more space in the United States for them. 2016, I challenge you all to go home and think about a world without terrorism.